Thank you.
Hello, people. Okay. Hi, hello, Chanel McCall. I hope I called it right. I hope you'll be good. And then, yeah, thank you for tuning in with us today. Kindly please tell us on the chat function where you're streaming from. And then, yeah. Hey, Tamin Lovu. Hello, Katlehoto. We see you guys, Patronellan. Hi, people. Hi. Kindly send us your location or the thingy on the chat function, please, and let us know. We will be starting our webinar in a few moments. So yeah, would like to know where you're streaming from. I, for one, am Tabiso here in the NWU Mafikeng campus, and I'll be your host today. Hello there, Tembeka. Hi, Zoma from Devon. Eva from Nelspruit. Nice, thank you for coming in. Hello there, Tamin Glover from NW. Oh, hi there, people. Oh. Hello, Petronella. Hi, Katleho. We see you all the way from NWU campus, and thank you for tuning in with us. Hi, Bundler from Mafikeng. We will be starting in a few moments just now. Okay, guys. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in with us. I am Tabiso Samuel Masoko, and I'll be the host for today's session. Today is day 2 of 3-day leadership workshop program by the Golden Key Northwest University Mafikeng chapter. I'd like to take this moment to thank you guys and welcome you to this day. Today we will be talking about inclusion and diversity, creative safety, and inclusive environment. So yeah, a strong organizational culture that invests in diversity and inclusion is one of the greatest competitive advantages, including in organizations. Oh, my bad, guys. What I meant to say is that competitive advantages any organization can maintain. What makes people feel included in an organization? That's a question. Many things, of course, including an organization mission, policies, and practices, as well as co-workers' behaviors. Feel that they are treated fairly and respectfully and valued and belong. By mostly, it comes down to leaders. We find that what leaders say and do makes up to 70% differences to whether an individual reports feeling included. In this session, we will hear about inclusivity and diversity as a key element of effective leadership. I hope you have a synopsis of what we're going to talk about, and forgive me for stumbling around the blocks for a second. Today we have a keynote speaker by the name of Professor Emmanuel Mgqwashu. Professor Emmanuel Mgqwashu will be our host today, and then yeah, he's a great inspiration. He's been out there, and I hope you get passionate about his following bio and motivated, which is as follows. Prof Emmanuel Mfanafuthi Mgqwashu is the current director for faculty teaching and learning support directorate in the Center of Teaching and Learning, Northwest University. He is the former head of Deputy Dean of Rhodes University's Education Faculty. Yes, you heard right. He's not just a working member of the NWU, he's a former working member of the Rhodes University. And then he received his first National Research Foundation, NRF, rating in 2019 in recognition of his top national research productivity that began to enter the international arena. His scholarly work involves an NRF research project called Access and Inclusion in Higher Education, with a focus on ways in which disciplinary discussions and pedagogy practices across disciplines in higher education serve to include and exclude students. This project involved academic staff across 18 universities. So he works around with people around the universities in South Africa, and yeah, it includes comprehensive universities and Universities of Technology. His latest research environment is in the project called The Influence of Rurality on Student Trajectories Through Higher Education, a view from the South Africa. This is the ESRC/Newton funded project 2017 to 2020, in which the University of Johannesburg, University of Bristol, University of Fort Hare, and the University of Brenton and Rhodes University collaborated. The project investigating how students negotiate the transition from school and home in rural context to university learning. To date, 4 academic journal articles have been published in the local and international journals, and then the book from his project titled Rural Transitions of Higher Education will be launched in September 2021. I'm excited to see that one myself. Greetings to you, Prof Emmanuel Mgqwashu. How are you doing for the day?
Yeah, no, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, and we are honored to have you in our midst today. From here on, you can get it. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know, do you want me to share my video or not? I should remain muted, my video.
That's entirely
whichever one you comfortable with.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I'll prefer that people see who is talking to them. Thank you very much. So again, good morning. And I really want to express my appreciation for this opportunity to address you as the Golden Key community. Thanks to the organizers and thanks to the program director. It's a privilege to speak to the next generation of leaders. It's an opportunity I do not take lightly because it comes with responsibility and it comes with accountability. So I'll do my best to honor this opportunity and treat it with the respect and the seriousness that it requires. The first thing I'm going to start with is to talk about what I would call musings on leadership. Some of the things you may have heard about, but I always prefer to create the context within which I will be talking about inclusive leadership and creating safe environments. I started working in higher education in 1996, so it's quite a while ago. Northwest University is the 5th university that I've worked for in South Africa. So it's been a lot of movements really across different universities, across different provinces. But again, as a student, I served as house committees, SRCs. And so it's been a journey in terms of leadership and also academically in terms of department headship, school director, school head, deputy deans, director at the moment. So it's been quite an exciting journey, starting at a very young age. So there are just few things that I think I need to share with you around leadership, And I think the first thing that we probably already know and take for granted, but I think is important to mention, is that a position does not make any person a leader. And there seems to be this conflation between a position and a leader. What in fact, I think is the case is actually that positions seek for leaders, and that is why organizations, organize interviews. So what they are looking for is they are looking for people who are already leaders. So a position, it does not make anybody a leader. There are many people who are in positions, but they are not leaders. And so I think it's a very critical principle to meditate on and to think about that before I get a position, I need to be a person who has actually begun to lead already. And self-leadership for me, I think, is the start of leadership. The ability to lead oneself is the beginning of leadership. Before the position, before opportunities to lead begin, the ability to lead oneself is very key. And the ability to set goals for self and to discipline self and realize those goals. I think so. True leadership actually has nothing to do with the position. I think it's a very important thing to consider. Another thing I think that is important is that the self that we are talking about, that we should be able to lead, because leadership begins with leading yourself. The leadership, trait begins with leading self, is to understand the self. In my world where I come from, we are spirit. We have a soul, and we live in the body. All right, and there's always, again, this conflation that I'm just the body, I'm just this, but in fact, this is just a container of the true me, and me being the spirit, and I have a soul, and a soul is where my feelings reside, is where my decision making, reside. And so the most important thing in leadership is to know which part of you is most influential. It's, in other words, to be in touch with yourself. In other words, to be able to tell, independent of the environment, independent of the space, independent of what is happening around me, around you, the ability to know which part of me is most influential. And in my personal experience in terms of leadership, I've realized that the most influential part in my leadership is my soul. My soul, that's where my decision making lies. That's where my emotions lie, my feeling lies, my mind lies, my thinking patterns lie. And so I watch what I expose myself in terms of what I read, the people I surround myself with, because anything that I expose myself to the most begins to craft, a character. Okay, anything that I expose myself to the most begins to shape who I am, how I speak, how I read the world, how I listen to people, how I treat people around me, always is influenced by what I expose myself to the most. And so the soul is a very important part in leadership, okay, because that part will influence how I navigate life with my body, and it is how I read situations, is how I interpret, circumstances and people around me. As a leader, it's crucial to be able to tell which part in my life is the most influential. Is it my body? In other words, once I say something or once I feel something and then immediately I want to respond to it, is that what is actually most influential, to me? And so that for me, I think is very critical. I also want to say that there needs to be prioritization between building your character and reputation. Most people focus on building a reputation, but I honestly think true leaders are people who invest in their character. In other words, who am I in private where no one sees? All right. How confident am I about the things I do in private? If while I do whatever I do or whatever I say in private, and then the world just opened up and the entire world saw me, will I be happy about what the world will see about me? So that's character, which I believe we really need to focus on, as opposed to reputation. Reputation is what others think about you, is what others think about me. It has to do with how the public views me. And as a leader, I honestly believe that true leaders invest in character, invest in identifying identifying exactly what are the most influential things in my life. Why am I influenced in this way? What is the relationship between what I identify as influential on me and the things I expose myself to? What is the relationship between the things I expose myself to the most and my character? And so I will always emphasize it is a character that we want to build and not reputation, not what people say about me, not what people say about you. It matters, but it cannot overwhelm my life to a point where I lose character. By character, I'm talking about strong convictions. What are the things that no one, no situation can change you from? Things that have made me, things that have made you, things that you know that you know that you know, whether private or public, this is who I am. Strong convictions are very important in a leader, and accountability to self. You see, it is very important to be able to identify where I've gone wrong and be able to be humble as a leader to those that I lead, and be able to say, I probably misread you, or I probably did not think this through, and be able to be accountable for the things that happen, either they affect me as a person or they affect those that I lead or those that I'm around. And so that humility and the teachability, the ability to say, I might be a leader, but I'm a human. Leadership is just a position, it's a role. It's a role that comes with responsibility, but it doesn't make me, superhuman, better than those that are not in the role, but I'm as human as any other person. That teachability and kindness. You see, when there is a wrong as a leader that I identify, among my team or those that I lead, and while you're having it, you haven't lost it, it's because you're working hard to maintain it. All right. People who get things through compromise are suffering anxiety, are suffering stress, because they are wondering how to protect what they got through compromise. So my musings, the way I reflect on leadership in the time that one has been a leader, that I will not compromise my character. I will not compromise my values, my convictions, in order to get something. Because anything as a leader that you get through compromise, it's a matter of time. You are going to lose it. You might lose your career, you may lose your influence, you may lose resources. You see, it takes a long time to build a reputation. A reputation or character, both of those. But it takes 1 second to destroy all of it. So anything that you get through compromise, it's a promise you will lose it. And now, so that is just the context that I wanted to present, so that the things that I articulate around the topic that you have given me as a team, I have created the context. You kind of, through what I've been saying, through these points here, it was my attempt to make you, understand where I come from, who I am, how I think, how I locate myself as a leader, and what are the paradigms that shape everything that I do, that influence the articulations that I'll be making from now on. So I felt that first part was very critical in terms of creating the context for what you have asked me to talk about. And so the first thing that I want to say is that the concept inclusion and it is a little bit problematic, and I'll show you why it is problematic. It is problematic because embedded in the concept inclusion is an existence already of certain boundaries into which we are including, besides democracy or besides being democratic. So when we say we are including, what we are actually saying is there is somebody who has determined the boundaries. And this person has had a conscience attack, really, just a conscience attack, and decided, oh, let's let that one in, oh, let's let that one in. But the rules of the game are already predetermined by the includer, all right? So the one who includes has power to decide who gets included. The one who includes has the power to determine who is getting off what has already been said in this space into which we are including. So I always prefer democratic, because democratic means equal participation. Democratic means everyone has a sense of ownership into this, in this thing, in this phenomenon that we are in, all right, as opposed to inclusion. There has been experiences about inclusion. In my personal life, I worked in a context which during apartheid years was considered as an Indians only context. And I worked in a context which in the apartheid years was considered as English whites only context. And then I worked in a context which can be considered as Zulus only context, you know. And I've worked in all these spaces, and I've realized how problematic the concept inclusion is. It's almost like you play according to our rules or you get out. The only people that are going to be inside here are going to play according to these boundaries into which we have included them. And so I always prefer democratic, the concept of democracy, where there is equal participation, there is readiness, if you like, to undo everything and allow different voices to rebuild the thing. All right, so that is the distinction that I am making, and you will see how this distinction then is going to influence my presentation as I continue. And I've also noticed that the concept of safe environments has in some cases made complacency, where there is this commitment to ensure that people are comfortable. All right. So for me, safe environment is an environment that doesn't necessarily equal to complacency. In other words, it is not an environment where there is no accountability, all right? Safe environment is an environment where, as you are having a space in this democratic space to express what you express, we need to account for where is it taking all of us, okay? So safe environment often has been reduced to what one person wants, what one person wishes for. But the question is always, how does it contribute into the set vision? Or how does it contribute into the collective journey? How does it add value into where we are going as a group? And often I find that in the pursuit of ensuring the environment is safe, we have allowed complacency, we have allowed individualism, we have allowed selfishness, we have allowed a lot of things that have been counterproductive into this project of leadership. And I also must emphasize that in order to be a democratic leader, in terms of the presentation, inclusive leader or for safe environment, is that we need to learn to follow. It's easier to create a democratic and safe environment when we have learned how to follow. There's nothing as depressing as being led by somebody who does not know how to follow, who have never learned how to follow, but they are expecting to lead. And I find that when I learn to be under authority, to be under a particular leader, not only do I learn, all right, about how it feels to follow, but I also learn what not to do when I become a leader myself, okay? So I subject myself to an authority deliberately because I'm wanting to taste how does it feel to follow, and what kinds of things that make my follow commitment, what things make it unpleasant? What are the things that make me excited as I follow? So as I'm busy following, I'm learning how not to lead through the experiences that I go through as a result of subjecting myself to a particular leader. And so rejecting leadership or rejecting somebody who is in authority might feel good for a moment, but what actually ends up happening is losing the experiences, bad as they may be, unpleasant as they may be, but the lessons that will prepare you for your own leadership when you become a leader one day. I've learned that at a personal level innumerable times where I subjected myself deliberately, disagreed with some things, but did not disrespect, did not dishonor the leadership or the authority, not the person. There's a difference between an office and the occupier of an office. So what I was honoring was not necessarily the individual, but the office that they occupy. And in the process, learned how not to lead, what to avoid, because of what I was experiencing as a follower. And so it is very important to learn how to follow. And that does not mean agreeing with the leader. You'll never agree with the leader. I mean, right now I'm a leader. I know not everybody agrees with me. So following does not mean agreeing all the time, but you may follow because your commitment is to learn certain things about leadership, which you will learn by checking yourself how you're feeling as you are led. And we need to check as leaders what we expose ourselves to. Okay, so if, let me just give an example. If I expose myself in a space as a leader that is toxic, where there is competition, where there is a compromise, where there is sexism, where there is racism, where there is homophobia, where there is xenophobia, I expose myself to a company that thinks like that from my childhood, and I grow up having these attitudes that are unchallenged and unquestioned. Then when my time to lead comes, it will need me to take exactly the same duration I've exposed myself to those things to undo them in order to assume a character of a leader. So to save time, it's like our physical bodies. There are certain things we do not eat because we know what they are going to do in our physical body. So in terms of leadership, is I need to be choosy on who I surround myself with, what programs I surround myself with, what kinds of topics I engage in, and how I engage in those topics. Because all of those things are going to determine what kind of a human being I am when the time to lead, presents itself to me. So what I expose myself dominates me, shapes me, informs my leadership style. Okay. And in the 21st century, as growing leaders, as people who are, because I wouldn't consider myself really as an accomplished leader. I'm learning. I still have mentors, even right now. I'm still learning about leadership. And each context, our current context, every leader has to respond to big questions. There are bigger questions beyond just the organization maybe we lead. In other words, there are bigger questions that we need to consider as we grow, as the next generation of leaders that we need to ask ourselves. I mean, at the moment, personally, and of course, there are many angles to this. I'm not saying this is the thing, but how to extricate those you lead from coloniality and greed, for me, is a challenge of every leader in any sphere of society. And by coloniality, I mean a mindset or a belief, an ingrained belief that everything that is European or that is American is superior than any other thing that is not Euro-American. And of course, greed. So coloniality has to do with a mindset that has denied humanity globally of amazing contributions and innovations that would have, made our lives as the global community better. So let's think about apartheid in South Africa, for instance. The exclusion of a particular race from opportunities to study, opportunities to work, and so on. Not only was it an exclusion just of Black people, Black women, and so on, but it was also excluding the innovations these individuals had, which could have contributed into the well-being of the entire society. So one minority race group imposed upon itself their responsibility to carry the entire country. Of course, coloniality is a global phenomenon. So one race group made a choice to carry the burdens of innovations, creativity, advancement for the entire world population. It's ridiculous. So one of the challenges for any leader is to find ways in terms of those that you lead to extricate or to deliver them, if you like, or to free us from this mindset that if it comes from America, it's great. If it comes from Europe, it's great. If it comes from a white person, it's great. We need to deliver ourselves from that mindset. Maybe the 1990s generation is free from that. Definitely my generation is still not free from that. If somebody is white, they must be right. If somebody is Black, we must check them out first. So in my generation, if you are white, you just needed to arrive. That's it. If you are Black, regardless of what you have attained, regardless of what you have done, you still need to prove that you actually deserve the position that you have. Now, what is that? That is coloniality. That is, it's a virus. I see it as a virus that is across all of us, Black, white, Indian, colored, all of us have this thing that we need to free ourselves from. That whiteness doesn't necessarily mean superior, and Blackness doesn't necessarily mean inferior. What we need to appreciate as leaders, as we grow into leadership, we will be leading multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-everything, groupings of individuals. Be able to take advantage of contributions of everyone for the enrichment of the entire community. And greed is the obvious one. How do we, as leaders, how do we speak to people's hearts? How do we speak to people's consciences, in a way that will make them realize that actually I already have enough. I need not steal. I already have enough. I need not enter into a lifestyle that will not be within my means, because that's why people end up stealing. They enter into lifestyles that are beyond their salaries. They introduce their families to lifestyles that are beyond their income, and then they are forced to steal. And just to speak to people's consciences as a leader is important. To speak to people's hearts, whether they are white, they are Black, they are male, they are female, they have different sexual orientations. Be able to see people as hearts that can be invested upon for the benefit of all of us, And so we cannot be historical if we are leaders. You see, this mindset that I'm not interested in politics. Politics does not mean political party. Politics does not mean belonging to EFF or DA or ANC or EFF or IFP. No. Politics simply means matters that concern people. That's what politics is. Right now, as we are engaged in this conversation, is politics. So we have conflated political parties and political membership with politics. Politics is independent of parties. Politics simply is about the affairs of human beings, is the affairs of societies, is affairs of people. And so we cannot be ahistorical. Ahistorical means we cannot not historicize in order to recognize how we got where we are. So we cannot say, oh, I don't like politics. Please, 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 leave us with this apartheid story. No, it's as a leader, it's irresponsible to even say those things. Because who we are today, where we are today, who has opportunities right now than others, who is earning more than others, even though they are doing the same job, is history. And as a leader, when I talk about we cannot historicize or we cannot be historical, I'm not saying we have to hate. I'm not saying we need to start treating each other with hostility. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, as a leader, you have an opportunity to influence people's hearts. That's why character is important as opposed to reputation. If reputation is my obsession, I'm not qualified to be a leader. But if character and values that are going to take all of us as a community forward, allowing contributions from different human beings, regardless of their gender, sexual orientation, social class, race, taking what is going to take us forward it requires historicizing where we are, how we got here, in order to navigate ourselves, extricate ourselves out, rather than repeating the same thing because of very problematic attitudes. And so the challenge that we have as leaders is that we must not obsess too much with equality and ignore equity. So there's a difference, equality besides equity. And if equality is emphasized over equity, there is toxicity in a space where we lead. And so what is the distinction? Equity has to do with creating an atmosphere for opportunities to be the same for all before we talk equality. So you cannot say, from now on, everyone can study in a particular school. But the conditions, I'm talking about equity now, the conditions to be able to afford that equality are not created, you see. And so equity must precede equality. In other words, the ability to allow all voices to have space, to contribute into the space, must precede equality. If we keep talking equality in a space that is inequitable, then we're creating toxicity, because it's only a few amongst the majority whose rights were taken away. Very few will end up experiencing the benefits of equality, but the majority will still remain in squalor, in poverty. Why? Because we are loud about equality, but we are silent about equity. And so that is why there is toxicity in our societies. Service delivery protests every second week, and many other things. It is toxic. Our context, our universities, our schools, our companies, there is a lot of toxicity because of this particular omission. And then this is my second last slide, where I'm going to be showing the difference or contrasting a leadership space that is healthy versus a leadership space that is toxic as a result of who is the leader. And I'll start with trust, that a healthy leader, when I say healthy leader, I mean emotionally healthy, not having unresolved stuff, psychological stuff that keeps coming out in meetings. Let's say, for instance, if I'm not over the fact that I got shot during apartheid years with fighting with police, or my brother got killed by a white office. If I'm not over those things, when I become a leader, that issue will influence how I treat my white colleagues. It will influence how I treat my Afrikaans-speaking colleagues if I am not resolving those things. And so, and I will be suspicious. And so it is important as a leader to do what we call detoxing my emotions. That is why earlier on we talk about it is important to know what really between my soul, my spirit, my body, what really influences me the most. And I said in my personal life, it's my soul, where my emotions and my decision making and my feelings reside. So what did I do? I worked on my soul. I worked on my feelings. I worked on my brain, because I knew my body and my spirit would be influenced by my soul. My leadership style, how I respond to situations, will be influenced by what have I fed my soul. And trust, and as opposed to suspicion in terms of my leadership style, is critical. Suspicion makes everyone really, really feel uncomfortable in a space. And I don't pull rank, you see. So a toxic space is where I will find a lead that will say, remember, I'm the director. I've never in my personal life ever had to utter those words. All right? Because respect in a healthy leader is something that is earned because they are impartial, is earned because everyone knows this is the kind of human being I can confide in without my issues being known by everyone. It's somebody who can say, I am sorry, even though they are leaders. It's somebody who shows signs that I'm also learning from you, even though I have this role, even though I have this position, but I'm still learning from you, because at the end of the day, we are all human beings with our faults, with a desire to learn. So earned respect is a healthy leader, but the ones who always have to pull rank is a very toxic, environment. And also the healthy leader is human, If there are circumstances, personal circumstances that will make me suspend the due date for delivering something because you are going through something. And, a healthy emotion in those that you lead will bring about a productivity. So so I'm not driven by due dates. I'm driven by the condition and the state in which those that I lead are in. The state that those that I lead are in is of priority for me than delivering. And the opportunities for people to grow, not that then I as a leader, I'm only one who knows, because as a leader, you will get to know things because you are in leadership. You will know what opportunities are there. You will know what is there for developing individuals. And toxic leaders will never make known such opportunities. They will either take those opportunities for themselves or give those opportunities to those that they are their pals, to those that they know that they are controlling, and that is toxic, because then others will start to feel, why that one, why not me? And so the whole space is full of toxicity. And originality in a meeting, when somebody says something as a leader I did not think about, I need to be honest to say, wow, I didn't think about that. Did anyone think about this? Why? Because I'm giving honor where honor is due. Just because I'm in leadership position, it does not mean I must always be the one who gets honor. But I need to encourage originality, because those who are sitting in the meeting, seeing me as a leader, commending somebody for having come up with something original, and I did not think about it as a leader, encourages everyone in the team to come out with things. Who is benefiting? It makes you look good as a leader. It makes you look good as a leader, but actually things came from the people that you lead. They did not necessarily come to you. And so it's not my way or no way. It cannot be for the organization to grow, to mature, and to go where it is supposed to go. And micromanaging is toxic. Every little detail I need to know. It's very toxic. It's not inclusive. It's not democratic. It's just every little detail I need to know. I want to have a meeting with you every Friday. No, give people space. Give people space to make mistakes. Give people that autonomy to make decisions. All you need is the rationale for the decision, the reason for the decision, rather than dismissing the decision because I'm so much obsessed about myself than where we are going as a team, as a community. This is another thing, that who people are beyond the workplace need not be demonized. Who people are outside the workspace need not be demonized. I need not impose my own beliefs on people. And anyone who is outside my beliefs is demonized, is made to feel bad or uncomfortable. A healthy leader will allow people to be who they are beyond the workspace. And then the last thing, this is the last slide, just the things that I'm wanting to leave with all of us to think about. How do we give voice? We're talking about democratizing our leadership now. How do we give voice to dissent? In other words, those that disagree with us as leaders, without incriminating and discriminating against those that differ from us or challenge us? Because as a leader, I need to create an environment where people feel free to say, I disagree with you. And I need to be secure enough as a leader in an inclusive, democratic environment and very safe space to say, give me reasons why you disagree. These are the reasons why I think. So decisions get made not on the basis of who suggests something. So suggestions and ideas see the light of the day, not because of who came with the suggestion, but because of the rationale behind the suggestion. So if as a leader, I come with something and it is clear that my rationale is not as strong as the rationale presented by the one among those that I lead, one of them, and the rationale is stronger, as a leader, I should be able to say, this suggestion will take all of us forward. Does everyone agree? In the presence of everyone, being able to back off as a leader. For me, that is democratic leadership. The other one is, how does our leadership style create opportunities for self-criticism, unlearning, and relearning? So as a leader, I do not know it all, and I'm upfront about that. There is a lot of self-criticism. There is a lot of unlearning as a leader. And then there's a lot of relearning new things. Why? Because I'm leading a diverse group, people who come from different cultural groups, languages, backgrounds, parts of the world. I unlearn a lot of things and learn new things and be able to let go of certain attitudes. And then what kind of a leader would you would like to come after you? In other words, what leadership values you'd have modeled? So when you leave this space, how sure are you, how sure am I that the place will not fall apart because now I'm gone? Because true leadership is a leadership that when the leader is gone, the place flourishes without their presence. And then the last one, after your term of office is over, how would you like people to remember you? These things are important. It's not about, now I'm going to the next position. I don't care in what state I leave the space where I was leading. No, it's how would you like people to remember you as a leader when you are gone to the next job, or maybe you are late. So that is going to be the end. Then I'm ending here with this statement that what we do is for those who succeed us as leaders. That's what we do. Everything that we do is for those that succeed us. And my prayer is, God help us stay humble at all times, because it's really never about us at the end. It's about those that are going to succeed us. And what are they going to inherit as a result of my leadership? When I'm gone, the next generations, what will they be having in their hand? Having had me as a leader, I've passed the space. What have I left, with the next generation? So that would be my attempt to respond to the task that you have given me. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you for a quite mouthful session that you just presented. And in case you just tuned in, that was Prof Mfanafuthi Mgqwashu, who is the Director for Faculty of Teaching and Learning Support Directorates in the Center of Teaching and Learning, Northwest University. And then thank you for that. We have quite a lot of questions for you. I hope you're ready for them. One question that we have is from Tamindlovu, and it states that how does one develop character and how vital mentorship in character development? Okay, let me reread that. How does one develop character and how vital is mentorship in character development? From Tamindlovu.
Right. So how we develop character? I'll mention three things in the interest of time, but there are many other things. The first one is to be able to develop the skill to understand yourself and to know yourself. That's the first one. In other words, to be able to say, given the human standards or humane standards, given the need that humanity needs honest individuals, transparent individuals, unselfish individuals, secure individuals, healed individuals. How do I fare? How do I sit? Am I healed? Okay, from my past pains? Am I healed from having been raised by a single mother? Am I healed from my dad who used to beat my mom in my presence? Am I healed from that? Am I healed from competition, competitive spirit, jealousy? Am I healed from wishing I achieve things first before others? So in other words, the first thing in terms of the answer to that is genuine, sincere introspection and be able to make adjustments if there is a need to do so. That's one. Two, which is related to the first one, whatever I have identified about myself that requires adjustments, be able to identify resources that are going to enable me to adjust my life and match and line up with what I realized I am lacking on. And related to that is to surround myself with good leaders. In other words, they're all the things that I've identified about myself that are lacking, and I can pick up on certain individuals and begin to gravitate to those people. Just to say, as a side note, as a youngster, I never had friends that were my age. They were either very old or very young, because my peers were not getting each other, really. And so the people that I surrounded myself with, were people who were either much, much older, 10 years older, sometimes even 15 in one instance, and we're still friends now, or very young people, because that, at a personal level, really helped me get mentors without declaring this as my mentor, but just got mentored in the relationship that I had. So those would be the three things that I will propose. As I said, there are many things, but for the sake of time, I'll just stick with those three. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that was answered enough satisfactorily. We have a question from Obriel. Obriel, you can go ahead. We'll come back to Obriel just now. Just to be time conscious, we have a question from Eva Mhlongo, and the question is that how does one cultivate culture of personal growth and development when employees don't show interest?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the most important thing in terms of, again, my personal leadership, I've got into spaces where, when the handover process happened with the previous leader that I would be succeeding, not just at Northwest University, even in the other 4 institutions that I worked in. One of the things I've always asked as a standing question, who did you consider, or who do you consider to be problematic employees, and give me reasons for that. And those individuals were always my first target in terms of one-on-one conversations. So to answer that question, it is important to know the individuals that you lead at a personal level. And when I say personal, I mean professional personnel, all right? Professional personnel, you know what I mean by that. Because once I have one-on-one conversations, in the first 6 months of every new job that I take as a leader, first 6 months is a get to know who is in the space month, where I have one-on-one meetings from the cleaner, the person who cleans my office, to the highest person in terms of manager among the people that report to me. Get to know people. Do you have children? Do you live by yourself? Are you renting? What has been your experience in this space? I've had to reposition people from what they used to do, and suddenly those people have been flourishing. Often people appear to be unproductive and disinterested because the leader is not interested in them as human beings, as persons. That's number one. Number two, not interested to know whether or not what they are assigned to do is something that they feel when they wake up in the morning, they can't wait to do that. So the ability to identify what are people's strengths and see in the bigger scheme of things where I can put them so that they can do this to the benefit of the team, but also to the benefit of their personal life. So the real answer to that is know the people you lead at a personal level. Let them not be just in a number. Know the people that you lead. Yeah, thank you.
We have quite a number of questions as follows. So I don't know if I should just go over them and then you will try to wrap them up, because I'm looking at the time and it's not on our side. But one question is that from anonymous attendee: how do we draw the line between sensitive and making authentic judgment as a leader? And then from anonymous attendee again: what challenges come with being an advocate for inclusion, and how can leaders deal with them? And then another question from Mgqwashu: how can leaders prepare themselves to travel the inclusive leader continuum? Thank you.
Yeah, all right. You see, often the reason as leaders we exclude people is because we have prejudged personalities and characters and individuals and lifestyles. One of the most important things to prepare myself as a leader and to travel through this continuum, I need to ask myself, am I prejudicial to certain race groups? Am I prejudicial to certain age groups, to certain religions, to certain sexual orientations, to certain languages, to certain ethnic groups? So how do I prepare myself? I prepare myself by exposing myself to myself and be able to be critical of myself and be able to understand we live in the world where there are different individuals. I'm not the standard, okay? I'm not the standard of how human beings must live. The real reason we are together in this organization is a vision to deliver something. Whether you drink or you smoke or you go to nightclubs, as long as it does not affect where we are going as an organization. So how do I prepare myself? Keeping my eye on the ball. What is the ball? Get the vision, contribute to society, and show it going forward. The other peripherals of lifestyles and religions and all of that are the things that make us appear to be not inclusive as leaders. And so we begin to judge people according to their lifestyles, then to judge people according to the contributions that they are already able to make in an organization. And that would be the summary for me, I hope, of all the questions, that As a leader, I am the point of contact for everyone, and that everyone is not the same amongst themselves and definitely not the same with me. And so my role is to confront my prejudices, is to confront everything about me so that I make the priority the organization that we are in, which has its own principles, and abide by those and ensure that we go forward as an organization. I hope I managed to answer all of them at once. Yeah, it was a very difficult thing, but thank you, Thabiso.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much. We are out of time right now, but the question from Aubriel, apparently it was on the chat and I just found it. Can you briefly please answer Aubriel? And the question is, how important is it to teach diversity in leadership at the very lowest levels of leadership development? Can we please be brief on this one because we're running out of time? Thank you, Prof.
It is very important, and one of the modules should be self-reflection. Yeah, but it is critical. It is critical. So putting things that cause divisions and ask every trainee what are their attitudes towards this and that and this. Yeah, it is very critical. That will be my answer.
Well, thank you, Prof. It seems like it was quite an exciting session since the questions keep popping in and all that. But we thank you for the time, and then we know that you're working, you must be very busy. So I would like to wrap it up from here. And then sorry to everyone that couldn't get the answers, questions through. And then I hope you got a satisfactory answer. And then that was Prof Emmanuel Mgqwashu. And then, a director in the Northwest University in the Center of Teaching and Learning. Thank you very much for your time, Professor. And from me, Thabiso Samo Masoko, your host for the day, that was a nice session. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in with us today.